Hey guys, Plot Recap here. Today I'm going to explain the show Money Heist, Season 1, released in the year 2017. All relevant links and information for the show will be in the description down below. Before we know more about it, you can support the channel by liking, subscribing, and activating the notifications. It's free and it really helps us to keep growing. Now let's dive in. Season 1 of Money Heist begins with a young woman named Tokyo, who is currently on the run from the police after a failed bank robbery that left her boyfriend dead. She calls her mother and is ready to meet her, but a mysterious man named the Professor stops her. He warns her that a police squad is waiting for her at her mother's house, so she should rethink her plans and join him for the biggest heist the world has seen. Tokyo is initially reluctant, but then agrees to join the Professor and his crew at a large estate in Toledo. Once the gang is together, the Professor asks everyone to choose a city's name as a pseudonym and keep their real identities a secret. Now, the gang consists of the Professor, Tokyo, Berlin, Moscow, Denver, Nairobi, Rio, Helsinki, and Oslo. The big plan is to rob the Royal Mint of Spain, where all the money is printed. They plan to take hostages and lock the place down for a week to leave with 2.4 billion euros in unmarked bills without any bloodshed. Unfortunately, that's easier said than done. After months of planning and preparing, it is finally the day of the heist, and we are introduced to a few unfortunate people who are about to be taken as hostages. This includes the director, Arturo Roman, along with his secretary Monica. Arturo is having an extramarital affair with her, and moments before the robbers arrive, Monica tells him she's pregnant. To her disappointment, Arturo tells her to get an abortion. A group of teenagers on a school trip are also inside the Royal Mint, including Alison Parker, the daughter of the British ambassador to Spain. Then, the gang breaks in. They're all wearing red jumpsuits and Salvador Dali masks that represent resistance. Just like they planned, they take 67 hostages, including Arturo, Monica, and Alison. They register everyone's names, confiscate their phones, and dress them up in similar jumpsuits and masks to make the robbers indistinguishable. Next, the police arrive at the scene and are led by Detective Raquel Murillo, who wants to negotiate with the robbers and rescue the hostages immediately. She stays in contact with the Professor, the only member of the gang who didn't enter the Royal Mint, but is in charge of monitoring the situation from his secret headquarters. Although the heist goes as planned initially and the robbers make the hostages help print money, things soon break into chaos. According to the plan, the robbers come out a few moments later with a few bags of cash, shoot at the ground, and head back inside to create an illusion that this is only a poorly planned robbery. However, when the police react aggressively by shooting Rio on the steps, Tokyo gets into a rage. It turns out that Tokyo and Rio had broken the rule of no personal relationships by getting intimate with each other back in Toledo. As Tokyo drags Rio back inside, Denver declares that things will only get worse from here. Later, Arturo convinces Monica to try and steal a mobile phone from the robbers if she wants him to be father of her child. Unfortunately, Monica gets caught, and Berlin orders Denver to kill her immediately. Denver doesn't want to be a murderer, so he fakes her death by shooting her in the leg before hiding her in a basement vault where he helps her recover. Even Alison wreaks havoc in the robbers' plan when she connects her phone to the internet, and the police camp outside hacks the device's camera. As a result, Rio and Tokyo get identified by the police. They are also spotted on CCTV footage visiting the Royal Mint a few weeks earlier to locate the security cameras inside. More chaos erupts when a group of hostages are taken to the roof by the father-son duo Denver and Moscow. The police mistake all of them for robbers, and Raquel orders the men to open fire. One man gets shot in the shoulder, but when his mask falls off, they find that it is Arturo, a hostage. This makes the situation more intense, as Raquel's position as the lead investigator comes into question. She finds some peace with a charming stranger she meets at a bar who goes by the name Salva. However, Salva is the pseudonym the Professor uses to get intel from Raquel about the investigation. Their relationship gets increasingly intimate, and the Professor starts developing real feelings for her. Meanwhile, Raquel sends 3 nurses inside to stitch up Arturo's bullet wound. The Professor identifies Angel Rubio, a police officer, as one of them and informs his team. Then they plant a tiny recording device inside Angel's glasses, which gives the Professor ears inside the police tent. In a quick turn of events, The professor plants a blazer button belonging to Berlin inside a car that he knows the police will find. When Berlin sees the news that he has been identified, the professor reveals that it was punishment for him ordering Denver to kill Monica. Later, we also find out that the professor and Berlin are brothers. Eventually, Raquel becomes suspicious of Angel being a mole and removes him from the investigation. Meanwhile, a group of hostages, including Arturo, devise a secret escape plan. While 17 hostages manage to flee the Royal Mint, Arturo goes back inside to find Monica because he knows she's still alive. When Arturo finds her and Denver getting intimate inside the vault, the two men get into an intense fight. To save his life, Arturo reveals the location from where the hostages are escaping, and if that isn't dark enough, things are only getting worse outside. Angel starts getting suspicious of Raquel's new man, Salva. He tracks Salva back to his hideout and steals a teaspoon to get his fingerprints tested. When it comes back as a match, Angel knows that Salva is the professor and tries calling Raquel, but her voicemail is full. Then he calls her mother, Marivi, and tells her about the professor's identity. Immediately after, he gets into a terrible car crash. When Marivi fails to contact her daughter, she calls Salva to inform him because she thinks the two are in a relationship. The professor realizes he is too close to being caught and tries to poison Marivi, but decides against it since she has dementia. At this point, Raquel arrives home and the three share a drink. Suddenly, Raquel thinks the robbers' pre-heist planning place must be in Toledo based on past evidence and orders the police to look for a huge estate there. Ironically, she also asks Salva to drive her there. Part 1 ends in a dramatic fashion as the cops arrive in Toledo and find the house with the entire gang's DNA evidence as well as information about the heist. Thankfully, Part 2 opens with the revelation that this was always the professor's plan, who had planted fake evidence inside. However, the gang hasn't heard from the professor in a long time. They split into teams as Berlin, Nairobi, Helsinki, and Moscow think they should wait for him, whereas Tokyo, Rio, and Denver have lost faith already. When the trio tries to get Berlin to reveal the professor's last resort escape plan, he straps Tokyo to a trolley and rolls her outside the building into police custody. Meanwhile, Oslo's condition is also getting worse after the severe head trauma he received during Arturo's escape attempt. The professor finally gets back to his hideout and is appalled by everything that has happened inside. Rio threatens to call the entire heist off, but the professor promises to get Tokyo back inside. Raquel tries to lure the professor inside the hospital where Angel is by tipping off the press that he has woken from his coma. However, the professor sees through this and arranges a fake casting call for a clown before sending a kid with a plush toy inside Angel's room. With the hidden camera inside, the professor realizes this was a ruse. He heads back to his lair to prepare for a date with Raquel. At this point, the professor and Raquel's relationship is getting more intimate, and he wants her to run away with him. Suddenly, Raquel spots a bright orange hair on Salva's jacket and realizes he's the mastermind she's been tracking for so long. Instead of taking him back to the station, Raquel and the professor go to the Toledo estate, where she confronts him about the heist and their relationship. Meanwhile, the plan to get Tokyo back inside is already in motion. Some mercenaries intercept her while she is being transported to prison. Then, in an iconic scene, Tokyo rides back inside the Royal Mint on a motorcycle, but Moscow gets shot in the process. Since the police refuse to send medical help, Moscow eventually dies after some painfully emotional goodbyes. On the bright side, a secret tunnel from the Royal Mint to the professor's hideout is almost complete. Raquel lets the professor go, but her badge and her gun are taken away because she acted as an accomplice. She steals Angel's badge from the hospital and gets CCTV footage that leads her to the professor's lair. Inside the Royal Mint, we're in the endgame. The police storm into the building with guns blazing as the gang quickly tries to get the money they printed down the escape tunnel. Even though they've only got 984 million euros, it's time to leave. When Raquel shows up at the professor's hideout, he convinces her not to reveal the location and wins her over to his side. However, she goes to the hospital to ask Angel to keep quiet about what he knows and lands in police custody. During her interrogation, Raquel forcibly gives up the location of the professor's hideout after the police threaten her daughter's safety. During the final scenes, the robbers head into the escape tunnel and emerge in the hideout. Here, all the money is being stashed inside a large lorry. Monica also decides to join the gang after promising Denver that her feelings aren't just Stockholm Syndrome. However, Berlin stays behind to fight off the police and dies with dignity in a blaze of gunfire. The gang manages to escape the hideout in new outfits as the professor and Helsinki drive out with the lorry full of cash just minutes before the police arrive. Then, the gang scatters across the world with their fortunes. 1 year later, Raquel finds an old postcard from the professor with a clue. The location leads her to reunite with the professor in the Philippines. That was all from the video. I hope you liked it. Subscribe for more content like this and hit the like button to help us out. Also, leave a comment if you want us to recap your favorite movie. Until next time, take care.